The next speaker is Dr. طارق Hashim Al-Habshi. He is the head of GIS Remote Sensing Unit, a lecturer and academic teacher at the College of Petroleum and Natural Resources, the Computer and IT College, and at the Water and Environment Center. He is a consultant for several authorities in the field of water, environment, early warning systems, and climate change. And he gives training to academics, specifically doctoral and postgraduate students, engineers, and others in various fields, such as using remote sensing technology in water and agriculture, analysis of climate data, and its impact on floods and landslides. Dr. طارق, the question is, what are the biggest barriers to integrating climate considerations into nexus planning and coordination, and how can we overcome them? And I'm going to have to be a little bit more strict even than I already have been. So I will tell you when you're at 4 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for you. Shall I start my presentation now? Okay, so this is a presentation about the Yemen nexus and climate change. And there is just 5 points that I will discuss quickly about the Yemen crisis overview, climate resilience and humanitarian achievement in Yemen, climate change in Yemen, and a case study for Malhan region in the western part of Yemen. Of course, for Yemen crisis overview, many problems that Yemen faced in the past few years, for example, food insecurity and famine risk, climate change effect, droughtness and water scarcity, public health crisis and epidemics, and the last one, armed conflicts, which make a lot of problems. So for armed conflicts, about since 2015, about 4.5 million of people have been internally displaced. And also the humanitarian impact, about 70% of people have been affected by this conflict. The problems in Yemen separated in 2 parts, mainly for the armed conflicts and the climate change. For the climate change, the effects of climate change, we can see that the flood and urban vulnerability. So many areas in Yemen have been affected by the floods and the climate change especially. So the study concentrated about 6 from total about 21 governorates in Yemen. So Taiz, Aden, Hadramaut, and Mahwit, Hajja. And I selected the last one, Mahwit governorate, because they had a big problem about related to the floods and landslides. So we can pass a bit for this point later. So about the solve these problems, Yemen should be called the integrated action between the governments, between the agencies in Yemen for humanitarian response. Okay, we need it for urgent food, health, water delivery, for long-term development, rebuild infrastructure and livelihood, peace building and resilience. This is necessary for this time for Yemen. So this is the root causes. So we can solve by know the causes mainly. So the key humanitarian activities in Yemen focusing mainly on the food assistance, health, and nutrition, wash, protection, and shelters and non-food items. This is the main point in Yemen that they are focusing mainly. The second part of this presentation about the climate resilience. So the evaluating the long-term climate resilience of Nexus program, about 7 points we can evaluate at this point. Just for identify the community climate need, use smart tools to track progress, monitoring environmental and social impact, engaging communities in planning, assess local adaptation capacity, ensure financial sustainability, and address data capacity gaps. Of course, the priorities for these 7 points should be identifying the community climate need, monitoring environmental and social impact, because these are important issues in Yemen, engaging communities in planning. Also, this is an important point. And ensuring the financial and sustainability. Also, without this support, we don't make some action for these local communities. The last point, and this is our focus on this point about the data and the capacity gaps. A lot of data we needed, so there's a lot of gaps in Yemen about the data, and we discussed this with more in several workshops in Yemen. The second thing about the strengthening the climate resilience in Yemen. So about 8 points. The most important in this point about the climate project funding, building local skills. So this we needed urgently, international and local partnerships, local adaptation strategies, and better climate data monitoring. Also, we need climate data and monitoring in good system. What about the trends in climate change and intersection with the humanitarian nexus concern in Yemen? So we need, related to the climate change, sometimes we see that the increasing severity of climate event, water scarcity, depend on the climate change, vulnerability of agriculture to climate change. And we saw this in some parts of governments in Yemen, especially in the southern part of Sana'a, for example. Intersectoral coordination gaps, migration and displacement due to climate stress, and growing international support for climate adaptation. The major challenges for response concern on about the insecurity and conflicts, funding gaps, infrastructure collapse, policy bottlenecks, and fragmented governance. Here we can we need to improving the impact. So we should use the nexus approaches about link the emergency development and peace building, local leadership, strengthening the local actor capacity, flexible funding, and sustainability for this funding is important. Also, data and early warning. This is a new system here. So this is a big issue in Yemen, really, about the data and early warning. And we established a program with the Dutch people and FAO in 2013. Coordination, improve multi-sector and integral regional story collaboration. Toward the resilience of Yemen, should be climate adaptation work effectively, sustainable development, and conflict-sensitive planning, efficient resource use. All these items can help to resilient in the direction of a resilient of Yemen. The second part of this presentation about the climate change in Yemen, and some speakers mentioned about the climate change in Yemen, because the some fragile ecosystem, political instability, and weak infrastructure, all these things can affect the stability in Yemen. Also, rising due to climate change, rising temperature, erratic rainfall, droughtness, flood, and soil degradation, and threaten livelihood. All these mostly due to the climate change in Yemen. Impacts include increasing water scarcity, food insecurity, and displacement risk. Now for the flood hazard growing crisis, also affected areas as mentioned before.
Sorry, Dr. Tarek, can you round off in a minute or so?
Okay, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So these all the areas as selected part for the study. And landslide, some or major of this landslide triggered by the climate change and rainfall. Okay, so I'll jump some slides for you. Challenge in aid delivery due to hazard. So in this case, the access issue coordination gaps. This is an important point. Also, data deficit and funding shortfalls. So for building resilience, we need great climate with this disasters for the ERR, and invest in the mitigation, enhance early warning, promote sustainable practices, and strengthening communities. The selected study, this map showing the 6 governorates have been targeted for the study, and this example for study for rainfall and the historical data for rainfall for each governorate, and this photos of the effect of climate change. And the Malhan region as a case study, this have been selected for study about the climate change, and the area consists about 16 or 12 story discussed, and affected by the huge of parameters from the surface structures and slope, density structures, soil. All these parameters have been integrated together and with, of course, historical data for rainfall. And we here collected the highest peak for rainfall matched with the area in the same time. So they cause the heavy rainfall and makes a huge damage for the area, flooding and landslide at the same time.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm really sorry to cut you off.
Okay,
Thank you. I know it's a really big topic and very hard to summarize in 5 minutes.
Okay. No problem. You're welcome.
If you want one last sentence, if there's anything that you would like to conclude with, but we
Yes,
really...
of course. That's last one about the making integration between the data and the action plan for the monitoring in one platform. This we are studying about how to develop a platform, new platform, using the as early warning, using the data from the reality and the action plan of the other data integrated together for early warning system. Thank you very much.
Thank you.